Howdy folks, it's Mama B here, and we're going to start another crochet along. I hope you enjoyed the last one. This little skirt I found has this really pretty little flower design, and I really like it. That's what drew my eye to it. It's got some nice pocket embellishments, extra little snaps, and cute little markings like that. I like that it has the embellishments around the pockets and on the seams like that as well. And so we're going to take this skirt and we're going to make it my own. So I hope you've got your skirt. Let's get started. So I've got this copper mist, and it'll kind of tie into the stitches if I don't put it right up against them. It's close enough of a color. I've got this coral that I really like, and this fudge brown. They are all Aunt Lydia's number 10 threads, and I think that they'll look really good together and make this just a really fun skirt. I'm also considering adding in this cream color. It's always nice to have as an option, so don't be surprised if we put some of that in there. Okay, we're going to start with the back seam of the skirt, and we're doing this because if you have a hard time with the transition from row to row, then it will be hidden neatly in the back of your skirt instead of staring you in the front of your face. We're going to use a simple slip knot to start, and you're going to want to have a tail. This one might be just a little bit long, but that just means it takes a little bit longer to tuck it in. It's not a big deal. We're going to tuck as we go. I'm using fudge brown number 10 Aunt Lydia thread to start, and it's just your classic crochet thread. So as many of you have suggested, I have pre-punctured this hem with a metal stitching needle, and let's see how it goes in. It's kind of, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. That actually went in pretty easily. This next part will be the thicker part. Remember, tuck in your end as you go. And let's see how this goes. Yeah, that's not too bad. Thanks for your suggestions. Keep your fingers out of the way, nevertheless, because as that hook goes through, it can poke you, and I'll tell you what, your fingers are pretty tough, but there's a point. You know what I mean? Now see, that's what I like about this kind of thing, because you help me and I help you. At least that's the end goal. So as we work through this, that really does make a difference. I'll tell you, I didn't think that it would, because you punch a hole and then you pull it out and there's no sign of a hole, but it's working for me. So this is pretty great. Appreciate your suggestions on that. And we're just going to keep crocheting along this bottom hem. We're going to work it through this seam, or this seam is the thick part, so that's the part that you really want to make sure that you pre-puncture. I recommend that totally. And then we just work all the way around with these little stitches. Be sure that you don't do them too far apart, because if you do, it might feel like you're saving yourself time, but really what you're doing is you're just creating a mess for later. It'll buckle the skirt hem if you do it too far apart, and it just doesn't have the same aesthetic. It doesn't have the same good look. It also adds to the strength of the structure of your skirt, and this is the foundation for it, so this is what you want to be nice and strong and sturdy and consistent. Consistency is key to crochet. So for this crochet hook, I'm using a 110 millimeter boy crochet hook. It is a little bit larger, but it's still small enough to work through that hem pretty nicely. I have to use a larger hook on this because I'm using a larger thread, and if I use the really small ones, it just kind of catches part of the thread. So you want to make sure that you're using just a slightly larger hook, but not so big that you can't get through the hem of the skirt. So we're just going to continue to do this single crochet all the way around the bottom of the skirt, keeping the stitches close together, and you can see it's looking pretty solid, nice on both sides, and it's going to hold the rest of the weight of the yarn very well. We're just going to keep crocheting these little single crochet stitches all the way around the hem of the skirt, and then when we get this row done, we'll start up with the next one. Okay, so we're coming around to the end of this row. We just have a few more stitches to put in, and this is not the time to get discouraged because you just finished the hardest part. So get these stitches in here, and I think I can get a couple more. Yeah. Okay, so then to finish it off, you do a slip stitch into the next row. Just click in, grab your hook, your yarn, slip it right through everything. There, you finished your first row. Now we're going to start the next row, and I always like to do a double crochet row after this because it's a great way to increase where I want to increase and to the amount that I want to increase. So for this skirt, because I want a lot of flare, in every second or third stitch I will put 2 double crochets to increase it so that I can get the flare that I want. We'll finish this row, keep crocheting all the way around, and we'll see you at the end of this row, and I'll show you how to start the next one. Okay, look at this, folks. We've come to almost the end. So I'm just going to wrap it up here, do a few more crochets. They're double crochets in the single stitches that we did around the border, the hem of the skirt. And we're just going to do a few more, doubling up in a couple of them as we go. And get here to the end, and then I will show you how to finish off this row. Alright, it looks like, get a couple more in there, and I think I can fit one more. I think that'll do it. Let me just finish it off by going into that third stitch and doing a slip stitch. And there you go. You finished the double crochet row. Okay, so now we're ready to begin the next row. We're going to start by chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. And then we're going to skip 2 and go into the third space, third stitch with a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 3 and do 2 double crochets in the 2 stitches following. It will create sort of a solid arch. And then you're going to do a slip stitch in the third stitch. So you'll skip 2 and slip stitch in the next one. See how it kind of forms an arch like that, and it's solid. So one stitch will be a loop, the next one would be a solid arch. Then you're going to chain 5, skip 2, and slip stitch into the next stitch, into the third stitch. That will create another arch. You will continue doing this pattern. You'll continue doing this, alternating between the open loop and the arched wall stitches all the way around. Now you want to make sure that you're double checking your work, because it's not fun to realize that you've messed up your pattern and you have to go all the way back around taking it out to fix it, right? So double check your work as you go, just every, 5 or 6 or 10. Look back and make sure that it's alternating between these 2 stitches. See, I missed one right there, so now I've got to take it out. But it's a lot better to take out 5 or 6 stitches than an entire row that you've come up on when you're trying to do the rest of your pattern and you discover, oops, I messed that up. And the thing about this row is that it is the foundation for the rest of your skirt for this pattern stitch. So you want to make sure that you get it right, that it alternates and it doesn't get mixed up because it will completely throw you off. So double check your work, go back and look at it, and this is what it'll look like, so it should look really good for you. Okay, so we're coming to the end of this row, and I'm just going to show you how to connect it and to carry on with the rest of your stitches. So first of all, you're going to want to make sure your pattern is right. You need to have a loop and then the solid stitch with the double crochets, and they need to alternate all the way around. If you come to the end and you don't have that right, drop a stitch or add a stitch to make it right. So I'm going to just finish this off by doing the last stitch, which actually worked out perfect for me, and then I'm going to connect with a slip stitch at the base of the first loop and then slip stitch up to the top of it. You want to start at the top of this first loop and chain 3, then do 2 double crochets in that first loop that you just connected to. So at this point you will be doing the double crochet stitch into each of the loops and connecting them to the solid double crochet stitches from the last row, and you'll connect them with a slip stitch and then chain 5 to make the next loop. And so it's kind of tiny, but hopefully you can see this. I slip stitch into the last row and it kind of forms this little solid arch. It's going to look so pretty. Then chain 5, then slip stitch into the next loop from the last row, chain 3, and then we double crochet into that loop, connecting it to the others with a slip stitch. So we'll continue this all the way around. Basically, if you're on a loop, you should be double crocheting, doing that stitch, and if you're on the double crochet, then you start with a loop. I'm going to show you with my other skirt that I did previously. You might recognize this from my skirt demo. This is the pattern that we're doing. So the rows are your double crochets and the loops are the foundation for the double crochet and then the lines in between each. This is the pattern and it's going to look so good when we're done. So we're going to continue with this pattern, and you can do it as long as you want. Make it as much of a presence in your skirt as you want. And when we're finished with this, we'll come back and we'll start another stitch and we'll work that through together. Thank you so much for watching our videos and sharing them with your friends, and thanks for spending time with us here at Handy Dandy Crafts. Have a fantastic day.